Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Lancaster, PA, there was a husband and wife named John and Mary Leckler. John, like most of the people around, was a working fellow that farmed his land. When working, he would typically wear an old brown pair of overalls that his father bought for him when he was just a boy. If he was not wearing overalls, then he would wear an old torn up pair of blue jeans with a white short sleeved shirt. The shirt was covered in dirt stains ranging from his collar to his waist. Even his facial hair appeared rough and dirt covered. More often than not, John would still be dressed in his disgusting work clothes until hours after dinner. Managing to get by, John continually took his produce to the town square marketplace about 15 miles away. Whatever produce he did not sell he brought home for his family. John was a pleasant, civilized man to be around, but he had his issues. Over the years, John taught himself to restrain from erupting uncontrollably. This did not stop him from occasionally bursting out with anger. It did not take much to set off old John Lecter. He was not the kind of man you wanted to be on better terms with. Unlike John, Mary was to stay at home to take care of the family. She would do any cleaning necessary, scrubbing the house bottom to top to ensure everything was presentable. Mary also fixed each meal. John would supply Mary with money to purchase ingredients. She constantly spent hours in the kitchen, prepping, cooking, and then cleaning dishes or whatever seemed to be left over from the meal. When she had material available, Mary sewed or knitted clothes for the family. Mary often wore old, dull, white scrubs all day. Mary owned only one extravagant dress that was passed down to her by her mother. Unsurprisingly, Mary is a friendly, loving woman that works rigorously to maintain what she has. Sometimes Mary appears hesitant and afraid when speaking to John. Mary has known about John's occasional snappish personality for quite some time, leaving Mary to mindfully choose her words when seeing that John is on edge. Happily married with kids, these two live on the south side of town, just over the freshly farmed hillside. A dirt road barely wide enough to fit a horse and buggy leads up to the side of their home. Inside of the Lecler's home reveals their true wealth. As you peek inside, looking to the left, you see a small fireplace giving off the aroma of burnt hickory, and a brown table with 6 chairs neatly pushed in. There is also an unsteady chair next to the fireplace with a nailed together wooden bucket. The bucket contained old, soapy, murky water and a shiny washboard used to clean clothes. In the center of the home lies an old, oval shaped rug that is diminished of its color. Over to the right is a kitchen counter with very little cabinets or drawers. In addition, there are 3 rooms on the right. The nearest room to the door is where John and Mary both sleep. The other 2 rooms are for their kids. The Lecler's home borders a magnificent river that supplies the town with water and large glistening trout. Every morning the family could listen to the birds chirping and the smoothly flowing river beside them. There were 2 distinct scents in the air. One was the stench of recent cow feces, while the other was the aroma of untouched crispy bread ready to be buttered up. The Lechlers had few neighbors, at which they were all in great terms with, except for one particular neighbor, the Hags. John was not fond of the Hags because of his actions towards Mary in the past. These issues were resolved for some time until one night after dinner. That night, after nervously contemplating for hours, Mary compelled herself to speak the truth. Little did Mary know that her actions to confess her awful sin may have actually cost her life. Hardly enough, Mary came across enough food to feed the family well that night. The Leckler family has just had a small dinner. Later, Mary cleaned off the table remains of some delicious trout, chicken, and a few ears of fresh sweet corn that were left over from John's produce. Mary seemed concerned about something while she was taking care of the remains from dinner. John sat attentively, watching how troubled his wife was being. John speaking. Mary, what seems to be up with you? You seem uneasy tonight. Mary replies, John, no. Everything is fine here. With I will come talk with you after I toss the leftovers. Mary throws the leftovers outside in the soil of an upcoming planting area that will be used next season. Mary then makes her way back in and softly shuts the door behind her. She then continues to walk towards the dining table in a way that appeared shy and still to John. John speaking. Well, what seems to be crossing your mind? There shouldn't be much crossing that mind of yours. Mary replies, John, I'm not sure how to tell you this. John replied back, What? What is it? Mary speaking. For the past 18 months, I have had connections with Mr. Hang, but there is no more. Please forgive me, John. John replied, What? How could how could you generate such a connection with that slimy piece of grime? The outrage from John stopped within a few seconds. John then stood up from the chair at the dining table and walked over to the chair in front of the fireplace. He sat in that chair, hushed, building up his anger the more he thought about Mary's connections towards Mr. Hang. John stared into the fire like he had no soul, seeming emotionless to everything Mary was saying. Mary says, John, are you listening to me? I feel nothing for Mr. Hang anymore. John sits in his chair, close-mouthed, realizing the truth behind the lies told to him by Mary. Mary speaking. John, please. I made a mistake. Oh, you will surely kill me now. John sits with a scowl on his face, plotting about killing Mary. He contemplates many details, and then out of nowhere he snaps. Yes, you're right. I will kill you one day. One day indeed. No, John, you can't. John says, But I will. I have no reason to trust you will be faithful anymore. You will be gone as well as your lover, Mr. Hag. But John cuts her off. Quiet. I don't want to listen to any more of your lies. Leave me to be alone.